Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll just do a quick flip through of Alone in Space, a collection of Tillie Walden's early work from Avery Hill Publishing. Beautiful book design, nice hardcover book. Exactly what I want out of my comics collections. Um, Tillie Walden is someone who I think just came onto the art scene and the comic scene and was immediately recognized as this is someone important right out the gate. And this book shows why. This story was something I had seen somewhere the end of summer, and it really impressed me with the super densely detailed art and the beautiful architecture, the rhythmic stuff that I always wind up commenting on and liking. It's a story of a family. It's kind of fantasy story with this gigantic cat character, and they're trapped in a house for the winter. There seems to be a really rigid structure that the kids are trying to break out of. In the book, it says she was really influenced by Winsor McCay, and there's some like Little Nemo and Slumberland stuff. So you can see that up and down musical quality of a Winsor McCay, the animation quality of things moving around. So really beautiful artwork. Story-wise, not my thing. She's telling like this poetic fantasy story. So I've said that numerous times on the panel. I'm not the most poetic guy. I'm probably cursed with being a little too literal. So the story in places hits with me, in places it doesn't. But for the type of story it is and the type of like atmospheric poetic thing that the artist is obviously going for, it's very good at that. It's these two kids pushing against the strict structures of their family inside of this old mansion. But really some visually compelling pages. Real fascination with drawing machinery throughout some of it. So this is the art that I really love by her, and that's the early stuff, I guess. Then this is a collection of 3 of her early publications and then a bunch of shorter stories. I think this first one up front was my favorite, largely because of the art, and even though it has the more lyrical, metaphorical, surreal approach, I think that story still spoke to me more. There was more I could relate to in it. I love this part is a story just about 2 young girls kind of being in love. So, I mean, you can always relate to the love story aspect of it, whatever your preferences are there. But the art style being more open like that didn't appeal to me as much, and I'm not such a fan of how she uses ink wash. I'll show later in the book. In this story, I think the ink wash works better here against all of the detail. But here, or maybe it's just because even though it's a comic, it's all these one-page spreads. Compositionally, these are beautiful pieces. I love that. But I think I like her line work better when it's super dense, and I think I like the ink wash better when it's super dense. This feels more like actual ink wash to me as well. This looks like she had what's a type of pen called a Tombow, and you can make the pen bleed. I don't know. It's a cooler color on the ink wash, though. I, for some reason, respond better to the warmer ink wash. So I don't know. That one, I think emotionally impacted me a little bit more, like the sorrow of getting broken up with, but it also didn't feel as mature. I don't know. The other one, because of it hid behind the metaphor, felt a little more mature, maybe. So that one was alright. And then there's this story, A City Inside. This seems more personal and autobiographical, but again filtered through the kind of mystical look at things, the surreal look at things. So again, it's a story about a young girl, who's she's not struggling with being a lesbian. She's pretty well accepted it, but it's just, it's nice. It's a good to get another perspective, but it's hard for me to relate to it as a 40-year-old straight dude. So just enjoy the art of that one for me. But again, it's also poetic. There's like basically a poem running on top of the visuals, which is something that, again, is very interesting and effective. It's just not the type of stuff that I like personally. But if you're into that, this is very good. What I found most interesting, besides the story in the beginning, was the short stories and comics going back to age 16. If I had any of my students producing work that was this sophisticated and this well drawn, and this, yeah, I mean, there is a maturity to all of it, even though I was complaining about one being less mature. The maturity to filter all of everything you're thinking into these poetic statements, really impressive. So I mean, come on, like this is a comic made by someone at 16 years old. And I really liked this one, actually. It got a little weird and darkly surreal. I don't want to show the end of it because it's a kind of startling, impactful end to that story. So I really liked this story. She critiques it a little bit for being like, oh, I was just the angsty teen lashing out. But that actually landed to me more. And I like the art style in that. Yeah, just goddamn, 16. Assignment in college. So I like this. I think a lot of people would be against showing that, like, this is something I did as an assignment. This is something I did as a kid. CCS assignments. I like that. I think it's something to look at an artist's, like, you can look at one work at a time, and I can evaluate, this work here and say what I think about it. But I like looking at an artist's career as one complete work. And I'm always fascinated by those little experiments they made early on, or stuff they did off to the side that was just trying an idea out. I think a lot of artists shy away from collecting those kind of things because it feels masturbatory in a sense, or like self-celebratory. And I've struggled with that with my own work too. Like, do I really want to show all these little things I did for myself? But as a fan of other people's work, I definitely enjoy that. And a lot of these little one-off pieces I find to be more enjoyable. Or like I see things like this where she's just, doing the Studio Ghibli movies. But the way the color is used here with her line work, I think, wow, that's the stuff I've liked the most in the whole book. Where she uses these flat computer colors. So, or here's another one with some more interesting use of color, little short comic. And, the artist is going to do what the artist is going to do, but you start seeing, okay, well, there's a potential here for, I would love to see more of that, whether she does it or where someone else picks up on some of these techniques. There's a lot of stuff to be excited about in these short stories. And seeing an artist play with, like, oh, she's had super dense line work, and then here trying to do something that's all about just like these big chunks of black and the rhythm of the shapes. Like, that's good. And then, okay, now how do I integrate it with my line work? I love being able to kind of read that decision-making process in these things. How do I deal with the flat color? Here's the ink wash stuff again. This is actually my least favorite. I think, unfortunately, I've seen she's doing a Walking Dead story now, which is really bizarre to me, or just surprising, but I think it has this style more, which is personally my least favorite thing that she's doing. Really love when she involves color. Here's another short story in the same world as the first story in the book. And again, I think this is some of my favorite stuff. And here, it's not the ink wash, I don't think. Well, yeah, maybe it is. It's just a little bit flatter. I think that works really well with her work. But throughout this whole thing, there's, an absolute love for comics, an absolute love for drawing, and a sense of play and experimentation that I found really fun. So that's like exactly what I would want out of a collection, like an early collection of someone's work. I don't know where you have to get in your career to justify something like this or not. That's an interesting question. What it's like to be gay in an all-girls middle school. Oh, that's autobiographical. But again, I like the flat colors. Here, like turning the ink into a colored thing. So this is just a this is an assignment. A lot of these are assignments. I can't imagine having a student turn in work like this. So Jason Lutz, who did the, oh no, this is James Sturm. Jason Lutz is the professor for a lot of these. The guy that did the Berlin book. So cool, and I'm thinking about doing a comic class, trying to put one together for my school. So this has been super helpful too. I was like, oh, I could like steal some of these guys' ideas because now I know what assignments they're giving at the Comic Center. Where should you go? CCS? I don't know what that is. Some comic studies place. And then this one. This is visually my favorite. So when she deals with color, I'm not sure if most of her work's in color or not. And then just some gallery pieces. So a really fun book. I don't think any of the stories in here like we're going to register as like something that sticks with me for a long time. But I love the sense of exploration in a book like this, and it has me really curious. I like reading people's work chronologically if I can too. So I'm really glad that this is the first one I got, and I get to see her develop. I'll definitely be getting more of her books, and I look forward to reading more developed long-form works from Tillie Walden. Beautiful stuff. Obviously someone who's going to be having an impact on the industry for a long time to come. Thanks for looking along with me. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.